Welcome back to Hot Issues, and this week we are talking sports. Sports. How come that football is dominating sports in this country? How come that there are so many scandals around sports, especially football? What is the problem with Ghana sports? And to help us talk through all of this is none other than the minister himself, Honorable Mahama Ayariga. So you're welcome to the studio.
Thank you very much,
yes.
Comrade Kwesi Pratt. You're one of the very few people who have pronounced my name the way that it is pronounced in my village.
Oh, I see. So maybe it's my village credentials, But sir, let's start broadly with the mandate of your ministry. What is the mandate of your ministry?
Two broad mandates. One is the development of sports, and secondly, the development of the youth in general. But the mandate regarding the development of the youth happens to be shared with so many other ministries. For instance, most young people are in schools, so the entire education ministry is about the development of the youth, which is also what we are concerned about. Young people get ill, they go to hospitals. So the entire program in the health sector that addresses the concerns of young people is also, related to the development of the youth. So that aspect of it is shared with so many other ministries, and we tend to do more of an advocacy role of monitoring, evaluating, engaging at the level of cabinet what our observations are and making inputs through those sector ministers. So there tends to be a criticism that looks like you're not doing anything about the development of the youth. But if you really look at it, you see that everything about the development of the youth is being addressed by different ministries. So our job is more of coordinating, doing advocacy and engaging with those ones. Now when it comes to sports development, then we tend to really have to take full responsibility for the development of sport, and so that is what becomes more pronounced in terms of the functions of the ministry. Even there, these days we engage with the Minister of Education because the development of sports has tended to be done out of the educational system, and this was the pattern at a time when many young people with talents were outside school. But with the progress that we have made as a country, with high enrollment ratios of close to 99% in basic education and very high enrollment ratios in secondary education, and now many young people in tertiary institutions, it means that they are in school, and so you will have to move the development of sports into schools so that you can tap the potentials that exist there. So there is increasingly a strong relationship between the Minister of Youth and Sports and the Minister of Education in terms of programming to exploit the opportunity that exists in schools for the development of sports. There's a second program that we intend to do, which is, I think, one of the main reasons why we are having difficulties in the development of sports in this country. Our sports men and women are not catered for well. Some of them are paid 50 Ghana cedis a month, 100 Ghana cedis a month. How could anybody survive on that and go through the rigor?
But they may not be professionals.
Well, but that's where you start from. You start from being amateur, and then you become a professional with good training and instruction.
Amateur, you're not supposed to be paid for sports.
Well, they play professional. For instance, those playing the league matches that you see, some of them get paid 100 Ghana cedis
a month.
That's if you are lucky, you are in a team that is even good. Some get paid 50 Ghana cedis. And it's the same way with the athletes. The athletes don't even get paid anything. The athletes don't get paid anything until there is a tournament, and then we are told that the local organizing committee of the GOC has invited them to camp. When they come for camping, then they start giving them camping allowance and start feeding them. And that's why sometimes the issue of bonuses become very crucial for sportsmen and women, because that is their only source of livelihood, the bonuses that they get. So with that, it's difficult for their individual development. So what we're trying to do now
But in the past, a lot of these sports personalities were employed by the parastatals.
Yes.
And they did this more or less as part-time. They did sports more or less as part-time.
Yes, that is when you do well to a point where the parastatals are able to identify you and engage you. And it used to happen at a time when there was a strong culture of sporting competition among the parastatals. So each need to have a full complement of sportsmen and women to represent it. These days, that culture really has weakened.
And these days, most of the state enterprises have collapsed anyway.
Precisely, they've collapsed. So that is one of the problems that we have, except those in the military, the police, the services and all that. And even they have complained to me that their commanding officers don't see their participation in sports as priority programs. And so they give them routine assignments that do not allow them the space and timing to be able to spend time training and preparing for tournaments. And so these are matters that we discussed, because I invited the directors of sports of the military, police, prison, fire service, all of them, brought them together for us to discuss within these institutions how we can develop sports. And these issues came up very strongly, and they all agreed to go back and see how they could restructure things within their organizations to address these issues. So the strategy going forward is to have all the associations identify the potentials in their various disciplines, give us the list, then we will have a way of providing them with stipends. For instance, I was with the Swimmers Association last week, and even the money to pay every day and go and swim at Legon swimming pool is a problem for some of the swimmers. So if we have the list of all those that they think, have great potential, may be able to do well in Olympics, if we train them for the next couple of years, we take the list, then the ministry budgets and pays the swimming pool and gives this person...
Why wouldn't the ministry, sports council, whatever, have a swimming pool?
Yes, that is another...
What's the cost of a swimming pool to a nation?
It depends on the kind of swimming pool that you want to construct. Yes. Following that discussion, I actually have scheduled a meeting with the Chief of Defense Staff so that we can see how we can get 48 engineering regiments to construct regional Olympic-sized swimming pools, every region. Because they've constructed one, but for themselves in the Burma camp. So I said, you can't be that, I don't want to use the word selfish. You have these facilities, you have the technical skills, you have the equipment, you have the men and engineers. Why don't you do one in every regional capital for us? Because you can't learn how to swim without a swimming pool.
Just before we went on the break, I wanted to know why football appeared to be so domineering in the scheme of things in sports. So why is that?
One, I think part of the problem is the media. That's part of the problem. Because journalists have accused me of spending too much time on sports. And I have in turn asked them to just review their own coverage of sports. If you get up in the morning and listen to radio, tell me how many minutes of airtime is spent discussing football relative to basketball, volleyball, cricket, taekwondo, and etc. Sometimes a whole new segment, there's no mention of any other sport.
Even with football,
yes,
80% of the time is spent discussing Barcelona.
Precisely, European leagues.
Yeah.
And not even the local football. So I tell them that the public will follow what you discuss. The public will develop interest in what you discuss. So to start solving the problem, you all must be involved. Many of the journalists don't really even understand many of the other games. So I don't, to be frank with you. I was invited to the Cricket Association's program of fundraising dinner, and I was frank with them. I said, I see somebody throw a ball, I see another person hit it, then I see people running helter-skelter. Where they are running to and why they are running, I don't understand. So it's difficult for me to be a patron of a game that I don't understand. So the first thing that you have to do as an association is to popularize the game so that people will understand. So I like to come in and receive training in cricket so that I can understand the game and follow it. I can be committed and I can fight for more resources for you. And so I started going for cricket training at the Oval in Achimota. So weekends I go, now I know what wickets are, I know what bowling is, I know the rules, and it's a very exciting game if you understand it. The same way, polo. I said polo, we see people riding horses. So they said, come. So every morning I go to, twice in a week, I go to the polo club, and then they take me through the basics. And so I tell the journalists that you should also try to understand these games. Once you understand the games, then you can start promoting them. When you promote them, you will attract a lot more public funding for those games in terms of their infrastructure and in terms of public following. Even the football that people are complaining about is not receiving the kind of investment that, is needed to actually develop football. Everything is a national team.
It's Blackstar. It's not football.
Yeah, we overcome. And I'm being very frank, even as minister, that we tend to focus only on what the Black Stars are doing. And there are many other.
That is not fair, sir. It's not fair at all.
No, it's not. But it is also the quality of performance, and how much excitement that is generated at that level. I recall somebody called me and complained about how we concentrate on the Black Stars. And I said, yeah, we need to do more for football and for the local league and for other things, but don't underrate the contribution of the Black Stars to gross national excitement, if I may put it that way. Gross national excitement. Because when they do well, we get so excited as a nation, we get so happy, and it changes the national mood. And sometimes you really cannot put financial value to that kind of thing. And so I want us to appreciate what they do. But then also, it's our responsibility. I mean, they will do their part, but it's our responsibility to look at the others and not to be complaining about them.
But sir, seriously, who owns the Black Stars? The way that the international regime of football is organized creates interesting dynamics. One is the Black Stars owned by some private people? Is it owned by the state of Ghana? Who owns the Black Stars? It's a critical question.
Yes. First and foremost, is that okay? There is no constitutive document that says, for instance, that XYZ owns the national teams. But they are national teams. They fly the national flag. Is that okay? So they are for the nation.
But the state is stopped from prying into their affairs.
No, it's not true. It's not true. That
there was a controversy between GFA and government of Ghana not too long ago about whether or not government of Ghana can actually audit GFA accounts.
Well, that's another matter. You see, it is the way that the finances are managed. First and foremost, there are two main sources of funding to the Black Stars, or maybe three sources of funding. One is what goes to them from Ministry of Youth and Sports, direct funding. And very often what we do is we fund, let's say, their air tickets, air travels. We fund the bonuses mostly. That's the most expensive part. The others really are not that much. And then sometimes, depending on which tournament they are going, I have always insisted that they are feeding and other things. They shouldn't allow themselves to be fed by the host, because a lot of things can happen in football. So we still make provision for feeding and all that. But the chunk of the budget is either the preparation for the tournament when they go camping, because the organizers of the tournament don't pay for that. So you have to take your entire bill, your air ticket, accommodation. If they are lucky, they can find sponsors who will organize friendly matches and pay for them. If they're not lucky, they may not get that. So you have to pay for all that. Second is air travel to the venue. Third is feeding when they are there. But the chunk of the money goes into bonus packages. That goes directly from the Ministry of Youth and Sports. The reason why you will find the GFA resisting, maybe, is that money is not administered by GFA. It is administered by the accountants of the Ministry of Youth and Sports.
So why then do they resist?
So no. So
if they don't administer the money.
No. So the point is that they are not resisting. The problem will say, oh, but we're not keeping any money for you to come and audit. Go and audit the Ministry of Youth and Sports. And Auditor General does audit the Ministry of Youth and Sports. The second source of funding is when they get money from corporate sponsorship. Let's say GMPC gives them money. The GMPC money, they also don't give it to Ministry of Youth and Sports. I'm not part of it. They decided this year we're spending 3 million on GFA. I don't take part in the decisions as to how they spend the money. They sit with GFA and agree that we will take care of the coach's salary. We will take care of technical this, that. Basically, this is the only thing that you can use the money for.
No, but sir,
so that one,
sir,
yeah, I'm coming.
The team is owned by the people of Ghana.
Yeah.
Then whatever money they earn also is owned by the people of Ghana.
No, money earned is different from, let's say, contributions that are made to the GFA to manage the team. Because even though it's owned by us, by the rules of FIFA and etc., the people they recognize to manage the team is their local federations.
Why?
That's a FIFA.
Why should FIFA or any other institution interfere when we insist on the application of the principles of accountability?
Yes, FIFA has this position that ordinarily as federations you should strive to be self-financing, autonomous. But if you take money from your government, then your government has the right to demand accountability from you. FIFA takes that position. So if GFA, for instance, were able to do fundraising on their own and finance the entire activities of the Black Stars, then by FIFA rules, they will protect the GFA from any form of governmental interference. But the very
who elects the GFA? The GFA doesn't have the mandate of the people of Ghana.
You see, that is the other issue. The other issue is that the constitution of the GFA has evolved to a point where it appears to be a group of owners of existing football clubs and associations, even though we also have representation from the regional sports directorates and some government agencies in the Congress who take part in the vote, for the leadership of the GFA. So it's now a mix of state institutions responsible for the management of sports and associations. What I haven't done is to look at the numbers and see in terms of voting numbers whether the state institutions have a predominant vote over the non-state members of the association. So there's some delicate balance in terms of the role of the state through its agencies who have votes at the Congress, and then the different clubs that have managed football and their representation and their right to vote. And that is the domestic. But at the international level, FIFA and CAF tries to see their federations as autonomous because as much as possible they want to limit the extent of governmental control over the national teams. Their argument is that unbridled political interference really doesn't augur well.
But
everybody will be firing.
We are paying the bills.
Yeah, so that's their point.
We are paying the bulk of the bills.
Yeah, so their point is that wherever the governments are paying the bulk of the bills, then the federation can't come crying to them that government is interfering. That's their argument. If you are able to manage your own affairs and the government is not paying the bill.
But FIFA came crying over the Black Stars not too long ago.
No, they didn't really cry. They state the principle. Is that okay? But it was
they were threatening sanctions against Ghana.
No, naturally, that is what they will do. But if Ghana is able to show to FIFA that Ghana is paying the bills, which Ghana did, to be frank with you, that Ghana is paying the bill. I wrote to show that we're paying the bills. And once we are paying the bills, you can't access, you can't stop us from trying to find out how the funds were managed. And FIFA didn't interfere, ultimately because once they had an understanding that Ghana was paying the bills, the simple signal to F is that you can't take money from them and not want to account to them. And that has been the behavior of FIFA all over the world. Wherever you're taking money from your government, if government comes asking that you should account, they don't care. You will have to account.
Now, there's something about incentives, for sports personalities and so on. Why is it always about money? Are there no other ways of providing incentives, which is not money all the time? To be frank with you, before I became sports minister, I wasn't that much close to football associations and teams, and I didn't know exactly what was happening in there. And I shared the same, concerns as any other person. The last tournament, I got very close to the team. I spent a lot of time with them and the players. And I realized that it's not really the case that it's all about money. Money plays an important role in terms of what they do, but it is not all about money. And indeed, when I came back and from the airport, journalists started asking me questions about budget and etc., and I was reluctant to answer those questions. It was because of what I came away with in terms of the concern of the players about how their money issues get discussed. They play because, one, they love football. They love football. That's their profession. And for every player, to have an opportunity to play for your national team is the ultimate. No matter how good you are as a footballer, unless you are playing for your national team, you can't participate in the World Cup. You understand? You can play for Chelsea, you can play for any team in the world, but if you are not playing for a country, you cannot participate in the World Cup, which is the ultimate. In Africa, you can play for any club. If you don't play for a country, you cannot participate in AFCON. So for them, the opportunity to participate, to play for their national team, is the ultimate. They are happy and excited that they are playing for their national team. Secondly, for those who have already acquired fame and are already on big contracts, they play because they love their countries. But for many, usually about 80% of the team who haven't acquired that much prominence, they play because it is a big stage and everybody is watching, and that's where you have an opportunity to market yourself for big contracts, not the bonus that you get for playing that particular match, but the opportunity to be seen by the whole world, because Super Sports is showing it live, and millions of sports administrators and etc. are watching, so that they can tell if they should come scouting for you. So those are the the main considerations of the players. But like any human being, if there's money to be made, you will have to maximize the opportunities to make money. And because many of the young ones don't really make anything, those are sometimes the highest amounts of money they ever make. And it is also to keep with the expectations about footballers. He must be driving an expensive car, he must be living in a glamorous looking house, and he must be living a certain lifestyle and etc. So the pressure on them for money is so much that sometimes even over $100 they'll fight, because they have a need for that $100. So the first thing is, it's not all about the money, but the money is important. And sometimes you use the money and you use other things to incentivize them to play well. When you go to the tournament with them, sometimes Samojan will come to you and talk about money. But very often he will tell you privately that, look, it's not about me. You know me, this money is not the big thing. But look at that boy. This is the first time he's playing at this level. He's playing for this other team. He gets barely $10,000, $5,000 a month. I know in Turkey or something, if he pays his rent, is that okay? How much money does he send back home and etc.? He's now struggling to find his feet and get a good contract and etc. So for people like that, money is
important.
But for even those who are comfortable, they still clamor for the money.
Yeah, they still
kiss the money on television.
They still do. But the point that I'm making is that, it's a mix. To be frank with you, like any of us working. I mean, you working, me working. We love what we do, but we're happy to make money doing that work. Parliamentarians, ministers, CEOs, everybody, loves what he does, but will be happy to make more money to do it. And so sometimes I feel a duty as a minister to protect them from that kind of discussion that takes place on radio about.
No, but that discussion is about everybody else. It's about ministers.
Yes.
It's about politicians.
Yes.
It's about everybody else.
Yes.
And they better get used to it.
Well, it's also, for instance, as a member of parliament, as ministers, and etc. in the public service, very often you can stand the pressure of the kind of discourses that take place on radio about your welfare. But for many of them, it's not that easy to absorb that. They are very young people.
But they enjoy the fame, but they can't take the pressure.
Even the fame, sometimes managing the fame is a problem for them. You know that.
Yes.
Many of them, managing the fame is a problem for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, welcome back to Hot Issues, and we are in conversation with the Minister of Youth and Sports, Mr. Mahama Ayariga. So, have you bought a football team? And what is this thing about buying football teams?
Yes. A couple of months ago when I went to Canada, for the Women's FIFA Championship, I met a gentleman called Alhaji Star, who introduced himself to me as a cousin. I didn't really know him, but I have such a large family. I mean, part Mampushi, part Kusasi, and for many of the people on the Mampushi side of the family, I don't know many of them because I haven't lived among them, but they mostly tend to know me. So he met me in Canada and introduced himself and told me he was a cousin and showed me who his parents were, and then we saw that we had a common grandfather and all that. So we had a conversation. Then he spoke about football and asked me if I could take on a team that he had. And I told him that I was really not good at managing teams. I had just joined the sports ministry. I didn't know much about managing teams. But let's stay in touch since we're cousins. So I left him in Canada. I came back. I think after the tournament, he also came back. Then when we were in Equatorial Guinea, we're having breakfast. Myself, Alhaji Jaula, Sikens, some of the FA executive, and then myself. We're having breakfast. And then they were discussing their league, the one that is taking place now. At that time, it was yet to take place. So they were discussing it and discussing the teams and the management of the teams and etc. Then at a certain point, Alhaji Jaula said, Ayariga, you are the Minister for Youth and Sports, and your hometown, there's no functioning team. I mean, if not for nothing, at least...
Football team.
If not for nothing, at least the youth should have, football team that weekends they look forward to a game and the excitement. And I reflected on it. It was a good idea. So he said he would find me a team. And then he said, there was a gentleman who had said that he couldn't continue managing his team, so he wanted to give it away. So he was going to call the guy. So he called, and later on in the evening during dinner, he said, he spoke with the gentleman. And the gentleman said that he even knew me. When he told me he wanted to take the team and give it to me, he said, that he was my cousin. And then when he mentioned, I said, yeah, he was my cousin. I met him in Canada. And so the gentleman said, if it's me, he should come and take the team and give it to me. It's home. So I said, if he gives me the team, I'm going to move it to Boku and change the name to Boku United to promote unity in the area and to rebrand Boku. And the gentleman said, look, just come and take it. So I told Alhaji to tell him that he will remain the manager of the team. So it's not the only thing that I'm doing is moving it to Boku and changing the name of the team. And then I will find ways of mobilizing resources to improve the quality of the team. So Alhaji Jaula arranged everything. He met the gentleman. He got him to write a letter transferring the team to me and writing to the FA, telling the FA, as I sit here, I haven't paid 1 Ghana cedis for the team. But I'm happy that I'm able to get a team for Boku. As at now, the Boku Naba is very excited about it. He's going to be the chief patron of the team. He's assigned a very good park that we should develop to be the home park of the team. And we are constituting a management that will cut across all ethnic groups in the municipality. And, you know, as of now, we haven't yet formally changed the name to Boku United. It's still Tamale All Stars, but the FA has started the process. So that is it about the team. I hear people discussing the team and this and that, and, you know, Ayariga bought team after coming back from AFCON. He refused to account for AFCON, and therefore maybe there's a connection between not accounting and then buying the team. But the funny thing is that I've been listening to the radio discussions, but none of them has stopped to ask, but how much was the team that he bought? To be able to tell that, you know, it was money from AFCON. But today I'm telling you, today I'm telling you that I haven't paid a single peso for the team. And Alhaji Jaula is my living witness how the team came to be transferred to me. What I have put in now is to buy jerseys and boots for them for this particular tournament that they are participating in. That's what we are doing. But long term, we're trying to find friends and investors who can assist to really grow the team and get it a good. And I think that...
Well, why didn't you set up a hockey team for Boku?
As I said...
Or a cricket team?
It's not that I'm learning to play cricket. So when I finish, learning cricket and I know how to play cricket and understand the game of cricket, then we can start thinking about a cricket oval for Boku and then a cricket team. But immediately what the people there know is football. And so you want to start with what they are familiar with before you move into unfamiliar territories. So that's all that there is to this whole story about football. But you know, the thing about sports ministers and sports ministry management is that you have a huge media following. And sometimes you have people who present themselves as analysts who are not really journalists. And not being journalists, they don't appreciate the rules of engagement on radio and on television. What a journalist will not say on radio, they will say it. Sometimes they don't realize that it is in violation of somebody's reputational rights. Is that okay? Sometimes they don't realize that it undermines authority. It creates public disaffection for public officers who should be performing their duties and etc. Sometimes maybe they know and they are doing it deliberately because we don't stand up to them and challenge them in terms of their responsibilities on the airwaves. Or the institutions responsible for monitoring and making sure it doesn't happen are not, you know, sitting up to their responsibilities. So that is part of the problem with the sports ministry and the challenge of sports ministers. But it comes with the terrain. I believe that with time, maybe when there's too much activity beyond football for them to discuss, it will engage the extra attention, the extra time that they have, so that they move away from discussing ministers and discuss cricket and basketball and volleyball and athletics and school sports and etc.
Did you get angry after AFCON when the press started prying a little deeply? Did you get angry?
First and foremost, I must say that between you and I, and you are a comrade, and I can say it on your platform, I came with the intention of also causing us as a nation to begin to question our media. Between you and I came with that intention. What is the reason? I had the benefit of listening to the work of the Commission of Inquiry, the issues that they raised about the budget for Brazil. So when the GFA brought their budget, I sat with them, and that's what we do all the time. Any tournament they come, I sit with them, and then we take the budget one after the other, the items one after the other. I sat with them and I said, this one, I watch you people on television. You couldn't defend it. So why are you bringing it to me again? They will show you why that thing has to happen. I said, you may find another way of doing it, but you budget for it this way and you can't explain on national television. I don't want to be called before Commission of Inquiry on television. I can't explain, and then my mates in law school will be laughing at me and wondering whether I was their mate. So I can't do this. So we actually trimmed the budget. I believe that if you take the budget that we sent to Equatorial Guinea and compare with previous budgets, it's probably the smallest. But when we finished, I don't know what generated debate about the budget was a leak to the media that we had decided to restructure the bonus systems, where we said that instead of they getting 10,000 for first match, I think 13 or something for second match, 15 for quarterfinals, 25 for final, things like that. This is how the bonus package is structured. We propose to them that, look, people think you are playing for money, and that is affecting your reputation. So what can we do about your package to send a message that you are not playing for the money? You are just playing, and if you win, it's good. So we propose to the GFA that they should have a discussion with the players so that we can have a standard appearance fee. So if you appear to play any match, you get, let's say, 5,000. Then if you win the tournament, we give you 60,000. The GFA said they would discuss with the boys and then get back to us. When they discussed with the boys didn't quite get it. They said, no, it's never happened. They don't understand this arrangement. And so they think that we just stick to the existing arrangement. After they talk about they playing for money, I mean, they do their best. If there's money to be made, they make it. But, you know, people talk. So they want to stick to the existing arrangement. So their captain approached me and said, Chief, let's just stick to the existing arrangement and let's go to this tournament. Let's do our best, and you will see whether the problem is from us or it's a systems problem. When the systems don't work well, there will be a problem in the tournament. But if the systems work well, and what was the system? He told me, when you make a commitment to these players, stick to the commitment. If you say, when you win this, you get 10,000, when they win and come to their hotel, by tomorrow, let them know that the 10,000 is ready. Just as simple as that. Is that okay? If they're supposed
but some of the players are known to have complained also that indeed the officials also sometimes chop the money. For example, bonus. Officials are also supposed to earn bonus and so on.
Yes.
And the players sometimes feel a bit uncomfortable about it.
That's true. So that was one of the reasons, one of the issues that we discussed at the meeting with the GFA. I said, there's complaint that you take the same amount as the players. And indeed, I know that one of the altercations that took place in Brazil, the conversations, when a player asks you why you are taking the same amount as he, because he was not going to play the ball and you are not playing the ball, why are you taking the same amount? And you are not his coach, and you are taking the same amount. So I insisted that we reviewed the package. So we maintained the players' bonus at the existing prevailing rates. But for the technical team, we reviewed it downwards and said that the technical team, such as doctors and, Marseille, etc. No, we didn't send a drama. We didn't send a drama.
Oh, now you don't send drama.
We didn't. Anymore. We said, what's the role of a drama there? The boys can sing and excite themselves. And so we don't need a drama. So Marseille, doctor, this, that, we reviewed their bonus package to 80% of what the boys get. Okay? Then the GFA management, we reviewed theirs downwards to 70% of what the boys get. But that is
still quite high.
No, but you start from somewhere.
But it's still quite high, 80%.
You start the struggle from somewhere. You start the struggle from somewhere. You start the struggle from somewhere. So this time, the technical team and the GFA management, they got less than what the players were getting. The only person who got more than what the players got is the coach. And I think it's a practice all over that the coaches get more than what the players get. So it's only the coach who got more than what the players got. Otherwise, everybody else got either 70% less or 80% less. And then things like protocol, things like this and that, all those things, we said, look, you couldn't explain before the commission, so take all those things out. So the budget really was decent, what we sent. So when we finished, then they started discussing the budget. They wanted to know the budget. People, journalists were all over the place. Let's put out the budget. I had good reasons why at that time, I didn't put out the budget. One was that there was still this raging controversy about Brazil. And my concern was that if you put out the budget before you go to Equatorial Guinea, some of the journalists and the discussants on radio will just go and pick Equatorial Guinea budget, pick Brazil budget, and start a discussion that appears to me unrelated and just create bad blood between two ministers, myself and my predecessor. And yet I would have done the same thing if I didn't have the benefit of the work of the Commission of Inquiry. And he did that because he went and met that as the practice, and he approved it. I came, and luckily there was a Commission of Inquiry which probed it, and it created public, discussion. And so I learned from that, and so I changed a bit. So there's no basis for wanting to compare what I did with what my predecessor did. And yet, if I had put out the budget, that was exactly what was going to be generated. So that was my real reason for not putting out the details of the budget before the tournament. The other reason I found out during tournaments is that the bonus package of the players is often leaks. And when it leaks to your opposing team, they find a way sometimes of seeing how they could enhance the motivation of their side. Every country has bonus packages for its players. So you are facing a country, and then your own boys come and tell you that, look, the other side, the intelligence is that they hear we are getting 10,000 if we win. So they've promised their boys 20,000 if they win. And they get to know because most of the players they know each other in Europe. They play in the same clubs. So they chat. And then they tell each other, what's your side? What are they giving you? So they're giving us 10,000. So they've promised us 20,000 if we win. So our side is more motivated than you. You know what I'm talking about? So they get to know, it leaks. So if you go and publish yours before you go to the tournament, and every country is holding a list of your motivation from the preliminary stages to quarterfinals to semifinals to finals, all they keep doing is to enhance the package for the other side. I remember we're going into a match, and my boys came and said, hey, Charlie, the other side, you know how much they're giving them? $100,000 each, because they know that it's difficult for them to beat us. So they will do everything, including getting the boys to perform to the ultimate. But don't worry, Minister, after this one, we'll beat them. Are you getting the argument? So it was part of the reason. But after the tournament, I was really willing to put out the figure because we had finished. But what I didn't like, to be frank with you, was the way some of our journalists went about it. Senior Kwesi Pratt. The day after the finals, the morning after the finals, in fact, that night the boys wept till about 3 a.m. If you ask Kwesi Yantechi, Laji Jaula, Sikens, were in their hotels with them, talking and pleading and begging the boys to go and sleep and stop crying till about 3 a.m. when we left for our hotel. When we woke up early in the morning, I went back to the hotel to go and see how, and even I was still wondering whether what happened the night before really happened, that we missed the caps that narrowly. So I was in the camp when I got a call from Joy FM. The morning after the tournament, Joy FM called me. And do you know the first question? Minister, well, you are in Equatorial Guinea, but here the issue is about the budget for the tournament. Joy FM. Go and take the recording of that morning.
Well, what was wrong with that?
I said, oh, Joy FM. the morning after this tournament, what is of prime importance to you is the budget that we sent, not what happened to us the night before. I said, do you know where I am? I'm sitting with the boys, trying to console them. And I know that it's not just the boys here. I know that most Ghanaians are grieving over this loss. And I thought that as a radio station, this morning, your priority should be how to console Ghanaians and what lessons we can learn from the commitment of the players, and not after the budget. When I come out, present the budget to the appropriate authority. And in all fairness to Joy FM, the journalist withdrew the question and said, "Oh, really? Well, what you're saying is right."
But
I withdraw the question.
Everybody's it's different. Everybody's priority is different, and everybody's remit is different.
Comrade, I know that accountability, yes, the job of the journalist is to ask questions, but I think that there are some.
The job of the journalist is not to console players.
Well, but
and a losing nation.
Well, my job is to console players.
Yeah.
My job is to console a losing nation.
I agree.
And all of us are supposed to use the radio as the platform for doing that. And then I also think that at the right time, you discuss the right issues. I mean, at the time that they asked me, I didn't have a copy of the budget. I approved the budget in the office here, and the accountants took on the rest of the job. I was there. The accountants were managing the finances. So if you call me and ask me about budget, I'll tell them I don't even have a copy of it here, so we can't even discuss it.
Yeah.
So when I returned...
And budget is not a document you can commit to memory.
Well, I mean, how can I commit to memory? So when we returned, the following morning after our arrival, I was driving to the office when I got a call from Peace FM, Kwame Sefakai, and the same pattern. I thought Kwame Sefakai will talk about the heroism of the boys, Samojan and Co., and the great things that they did, our encounter with Algeria, and how people like Samojan managed together to survive that march. And the first question he asked was, Minister, they say you were in Spain. You left your work and you were in Spain with the boys. I said, I never set foot in Spain. I said, are you sure? I said, no, I've never been to Spain. I was here in Accra. So, but they say you were in Spain. I said, no, I've never been to Spain. I didn't go to Spain. So, but they say you left your work and you were in Equatorial Guinea for 2 weeks. I said, that one too is not true. I said, I was going and coming. Because here to Equatorial Guinea is like from here to Tamale. It's just 1 hour flights. 1.5 hours. 1.5 hours, depending on whether you're going to Malabo or you're going to Bata.
Yeah.
I get the point. I said, so I was going and coming. He said, are you sure? I said, yes. I said, most of the time people were sitting and discussing these issues already. I was actually in my office or at home listening to you. I just didn't mind you. And I sat down there. I said, what I used to do was to fly to Malabo, fly at dawn to Bata, go by road to Mongomo, watch the ball, encourage the boys before they go to play the match. When they finish, then I will come back. And there was no direct flight every day. They had direct flights on, I think, Fridays and other Sundays. But all the other days, you could get a flight either in Lomé or in Cotonou. So I will call National Security. They will arrange with the people at the border post. Then when I arrive, sometimes I arrive after 10 when the border is closed. Then the security agencies in Togo will actually open it for me to pass. And sometimes I get to Accra 1 a.m. And they didn't know. So when I wasn't there for 2 weeks. I was coming home and going.
Anyway, sir, thank you very much,
thank you so much
for coming, and it's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Well, we've been talking to Honorable Mahama Ayariga, the Minister of Sports, and we've been trying to talk about all aspects of sports. He has explained that he is the proud owner of a football team, but he's not even paid a pesewa for the team. All of this is coming to you, as you do know, from TV3.